Thanks, Ian, for joining us. Thanks for taking the time.
Great to meet you.
Just to kick things off, could you talk us at a high level through Pointerra, what you do, and especially the markets that you're addressing and trying to capture?
Sure, thanks Mark. So Pointerra is a 3D geospatial technology company. We provide solutions for asset management. So if you're a business that's involved in owning, operating, maintaining, building, governing, insuring a piece of process infrastructure, civil infrastructure, roads, bridges, railway lines, power stations, oil and gas facilities, that the asset management services that support those sectors rely on a daily basis on the use of 3D data.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's something that we see right here in the background.
Correct. This is a facility captured by a 3D laser scanner that's displaying point cloud hosted by Pointerra. The data set is in the AWS cloud environment, so mm-hmm. we are a 3D geospatial technology business. We provide a cloud-based solution for the intractable problem that exists in the sector at the moment of accessing 3D data.
Yeah. So looking at your technology, what is Pointerra's secret sauce? How do you do things differently than what's out there right now? So for instance, what the incumbent players have in the space.
Sure. So anyone who wants to use 3D data today, Mark, is typically using an enterprise software solution provided by one of the tier one geospatial companies. Mm-hmm. So the likes of Leica and Trimble and the global players who make laser scanning hardware and laser scanning software. So anyone using 3D data is typically using data captured by one of those, by that equipment manufacturer, mm-hmm. and then using their 3D software.
Right.
The big challenge though is that the data sets are massive. And it's an intractable problem at the present day. Right. And so the data is hard to use. There are a huge number of workarounds. Data sets are chopped into small pieces to make them easier to access and see. And that results in significant inefficiencies in the sector. So what we do differently, we've come up with a technology solution that we've deployed in the AWS cloud environment mm-hmm. that allows us to handle data sets of essentially unlimited size and scale.
Right. Just as an idea, how big can these data sets be?
Sure. Well, the biggest data set we're hosting at the moment is it's an aerial mm-hmm. capture data set from one of the US government agencies. I think it's something like 20 billion points. It's about a terabyte of data,
right? And
we can stream that directly to a browser, to a tablet, to a phone even, at scale. So our secret sauce, as you put it, is the ability to handle a data set of truly enormous proportions and allow a user to navigate through it visually.
Right. Rather than having to chop it up.
And searching through it, perhaps a traditional database of maybe 500 or 1,000 or 10,000 discrete files, looking for the area they're interested in.
Right. And so in terms of the workflow of your customers, how does that make it easier for them? I can imagine, it's easier to go through one of these data sets if you can just zoom in, zoom out, move around, etc. Yeah. But how much of an efficiency gain is it for them?
And I think that it's a great point you make, because just seeing it is only the first question answered. So I want to be able to easily access mm-hmm. and find the information I'm interested in. But then I guess where our technology really comes into its own is making workflow fundamentally easier. So once you've found the area you're interested in, that you're able to access in a web browser on demand, anytime, any place, anywhere in the world, our technology supports the ability to very easily extract that data and do with it what you actually want it to do, which is take it off into a 3D modelling application and actually do some modelling, some design for a fabrication story, for example.
Yeah. Okay. And so in terms of the commercial strategy, you've got direct salespeople, but you've also got, and I guess this is probably the larger opportunity for Pointerra, a channel partner strategy. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So I guess at the moment we're focusing on three core areas. The first is our traditional data as a service mm-hmm. solution, which is what we're currently selling into the surveyor and data capture professional segment. That channel is a pretty easy sell for us. It's a pretty compelling. Our offering is compelling. We swap capex for opex. Right. We give them fantastic workflow efficiencies, which makes their business more profitable, and we give them an incredible visual environment that they can use from a sales and marketing perspective to actually grow their business. Yeah. So we're finding that quite, we're finding a lot of uptake in trial users, and our ability then to convert them into paying customers under our monthly data as a service plan is pretty straightforward. Interestingly, those users are all over the world. They're in most Western-speaking countries. So it's Australasia, it's Western Europe, it's North America, and at the moment, our sales pipeline is filling on a daily basis, and we're starting to convert those trial customers into paying customers. And I think the company will shortly be looking at putting on an additional sales resource for that surveyor and data capture professional channel. But that channel alone gets us over the journey to being a really well profitable business. So to really scale the business and take it from a successful ASX company, commercialising through the data capture marketplace into a globally distributed sales and marketing platform. We're partnering with some of the tier 1 players in the geospatial sector, so the people that make hardware and software, the engineering services firms who are the trusted advisors to asset management.
That must be a very powerful selling channel. Basically.
They are. And so, we announced a partnership recently with Worley Parsons and Advision, where we actually complete their digital asset management solution. So it was great to hear from their head of digital enterprise that their go-to-market strategy for a digital asset management solution was completed by our technology. So, we're partnering with people like Worley Parsons, Advision, and then other leading engineering firms on a regional and global basis to bolt our technology onto or make it part of their digital asset management offering.
On that point, is it fair to say that you guys fit right into the ecosystem rather than being in competition with them?
Correct. I guess one of the, when we set about figuring out how to commercialise this technology, and we're fortunate in we've got two guys on our board, in Graham Griffiths and Rob Newman, who are tech and geospatial sector industry veterans and have started and grown and exited more than one business in this sector over the last 20 years.
And with Nearmap?
Yeah, of course. Yes.
That, of course,
We're both involved in founding Nearmap, and of course Rob's still got an involvement to this day, but they provided invaluable help to me and the team in figuring out the smartest way to commercialise this, our technology. And so we certainly, in every way we go to market, we purposely don't compete with the people that are data capture professionals, so we don't capture data. We don't compete with the tier 1 manufacturers of laser scanning hardware and software. We certainly don't compete with the engineering and the global technology firms that we're partnering with, and even the global services firms, the professional services firms.
And so that's the current opportunity, but I can imagine there's a ton of data, legacy data, sitting somewhere on different computers, servers, wherever. That must be a huge opportunity.
So that segued nicely into, I guess, the other opportunity that we're pursuing at this point, which is our data marketplace. So contemporary 3D data capture, both terrestrial and aerial, has been really happening for the last 10 years. And so as a result, many government and private sector organisations, as you said, have got a huge library of historical data sets, incredibly valuable, particularly when you, for a lot of asset management applications, temporal change or change over time is a really important thing to be able to measure. Really hard to do with 2D data, almost impossible with 3D data if you don't have an environment that supports hosting and seeing truly massive amounts of data. So we expect we're going to help create a marketplace for 3D data. Much in the same way, if you want to buy a photo for a presentation these days, you don't tend to commission a photographer, you tend to go to a website like Getty Images and acquire an image. We believe we can, off the back of the different monetisation and commercialisation initiatives we've got underway at the moment, that we can create a marketplace for 3D data. And if you like, a place that people go to first to see what Pointerra is hosting, what they've got available for sale, does it suit my needs? If so, I can acquire it instantly.
Just on a transactional basis.
On the spot. If not, I'll go to my surveyor anyway, who I would have ordinarily approached and tasked them to do a capture exercise.
Yeah, okay. And looking at talking numbers, financials, you run a very tight ship, basically. Looking at the cash burn, it's very limited for an emerging tech company.
Sure.
Can you talk a little bit about, first of all, why that is at a limited level, and also how far you think that will take you? And if at some point you might need additional capital, or do you think you might be able to get to cash break even on the basis of what you've got?
Yeah, so we're a 5-person team, the core team, and we've got some other contractors that we use from time to time. And as I mentioned before, we're looking at bringing on a salesperson. But we have kept, we've been listed 10 months now, and we have kept, we're very keenly focused on preserving our cash balance.
Yep.
We believed when we came into the public market through the backdoor listing that we were raising sufficient funds to see us through to cash flow, to a cash flow positive situation and an earnings basis with the amount that we raised. We've got access to R&D rebates. We've got 100 million 5-cent options out there that have still got more than 2 years to run. So I'd like to think that with our current business model and everything that we learned in the last 10 months, we're still well funded. With our current plan and our current commercialisation strategy.
Right. Yeah.
So it's a long way of saying that I don't think we'll need to come back to the market, and we've been pretty consistent with that message over the journey.
Okay, so final question then, looking at the market opportunity, and also your aspirational level of revenues. Is there any sort of number that you would be happy with at some point, a couple of years down the line?
Sure.
In terms of revenues for the company?
So I'll probably answer that by saying that we want to get to cash flow break even and then to profitability as quickly as we can.
Yeah, sure.
That's our first target. It's probably not appropriate to try and wrap numbers around that, but you've outlined what our cash burn is, and so it's not going to be a long time before with the conversion of the data as a service pipeline and some of the integration and asset management engineering sector reseller opportunities that we've got. We've got revenue starting to really flow, so that's pretty exciting. We are staying really focused on addressing the geospatial market.
Yep.
The sector globally is worth about $500 billion. The 3D sector, the 3D subset, is probably 10 to 15% of that, but it is the hottest sector.
It's still huge.
It's the highest growth sector. The advancements daily and weekly and monthly in hardware and software are incredible. I mean, look no further than the number 1 and number 2 players globally, Hexagon and Autodesk, who late last year put out a joint offering. Hexagon, through their Leica business unit, built the scanner, and Autodesk provided the operating system, the tablet-based software. That would be akin to BMW and Mercedes putting out a joint venture vehicle, and that just doesn't happen in traditional sectors. But geospatial is changing so rapidly and so quickly that people need to partner, and I guess that's what's created significant opportunities for us. We're in the hottest space right now, in one of the hottest sectors globally. We think we've got a really focused and clear approach to monetising our technology, de-risking our business and generating returns for shareholders, while positioning us to capture the next generation use of 3D technology in applications like the driverless car programs, for example.
Right. Yeah, and I think even though that might not be in focus right now, driverless cars, but I think purely looking at the market size of that, or the opportunity, and then at the data generated with driverless cars on a daily basis, which is something like 4 terabytes.
Sure.
It's a huge market. So is that down the line? Is that
I think so. I guess what we're seeing is the cost of the hardware that captures 3D data shrinking very rapidly, and the uptake and the application of it. I think the average driverless car has 8 or 9 3D laser scanning sensors attached to it. That cost has got to come down significantly for those to become mainstream. But any vehicle, be it an aerial vehicle like a drone or a fixed-wing aircraft that's doing 3D capture, or a vehicle on the ground that's using 3D data sensors for collision avoidance and navigation, they're simply not going to be able to store and process and transmit the amount of data that they're capturing. So we see lots of opportunities for our technology to actually be deployed onto the vehicle. I mean, right now we're a cloud-based data as a service provider, being very focused on targeting the asset management market, and we think that's the fastest pathway to profitability for us. But that gives us a base then to really capitalise on the true democratisation of 3D data globally, which is we're seeing as a tsunami in our space. The man in the street might see it as a trickle at the moment, but it's coming, and it's irreversible.
Yeah. All right. Well, it sounds like a very exciting future ahead of you.
Yeah. Thanks, Mark.
Yeah. Thanks for taking the time to talk
Absolute
to us.
pleasure.
And we'll keep a close eye on the company.
Yep. We look forward to giving you some regular updates on our progress.
Sounds good. Thank you very much.
Okay.